Hi and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we've got a very cool video and we'll be doing a tier list for the 25 best Serie A strikers from 2010 to present day. And I cannot wait to get into this. There will be 5 tables ranked 1 to 25. And let me know in the comments as always, boys, how would you rank them? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, share it to some friends, and let's get into it. We've got some very big names on screen, as you can see. There are a couple players that you don't really consider out-and-out number 9s. They're more second strikers, false 9s, but I thought I'd include them anyway because of their goal-scoring prowess. There's also a couple players that overlapped into the 2010s like Del Piero and Totti, but we just didn't see them at their peak, in their prime in that era, so I didn't really want to include them. It would just be disrespectful. But let's start with Il Gallo Belotti. Very cool celebration. To be honest, Belotti was a good Serie A striker. He had one specific season, I remember, 16-17, where he finished 4th, I think, in the scoring ranking, 26 odd goals. And it was crazy because he was linked to Manchester City. Pep Guardiola really wanted him. And it was between him and Gabi Jesus. He went for Jesus at the time. And that was probably the right decision because Belotti had a massive fall-off to present day. He's still playing in Serie A at Cagliari. Pretty good season for Torino, but again, he just can't really chat to the other strikers on the list. But imagine if he signed for City for 70 odd million. That was those were the rumours at the time. The rumoured fee was around 70 million. It was crazy. It was a lot of money. Would he have succeeded? I don't know. But table 5 for now. Obviously, we're going to adjust at the end, move players up and down. But next, we got a big boy striker. No disrespect to Belotti, but that is Edinson Cavani. When you talk about creating chances for themselves as a striker, when you talk about movement, instinct in the box, Cavani has to rank so high up there. And I forgot to say, boys, this is only for time spent in the Serie A, by the way. So I'm not looking at Cavani's time in England or in France, only for Napoli. And he was class for them. I believe he won a Coppa Italia for them. His goal scoring ability was ridiculous. He was a hero in dark time because if you look at Napoli, Maradona is of course number 1. But post Maradona, they went into Serie B. They struggled massively until the early 2010s when the likes of Hamsik, Lavezzi, Cavani, that team gave them life, gave the Napoli fans some sort of hope. And let's be honest, those three and that Napoli team in the early 2010s affected Sarri's Napoli, which then a challenge for titles. And then Spalletti eventually won it and Conte to present day. So without those guys, they were pioneers almost. And Cavani was a top level striker, man. This guy caused us a lot of issues. He was brilliant, man. I really wish he played for Juventus. He's definitely up there. I think top 10 for sure, but for now we're going to put him table 2. I think he's an excellent striker, but there's a lot of good names in it, so we'll have to see. Moving on to Antonio Di Natale. This guy is one of the most underrated strikers ever, full stop. He scored over 200 goals in the Serie A. Bro, back-to-back capocannoniere in 2009-10 and 10-11 for Udinese. Helped them get into Europe. For me, Di Natale is one of the best strikers I've seen in the Serie A, and when you talk about prime, he's very underrated. He wasn't on the same level as I would say some of these other players in his peak, in the absolute pinnacle of his career. But he deserves a lot of respect. He's a proper Serie A bagsman, bro. When you talk about, remember that Barclaysman trend? If you were to do that for the Serie A, Di Natale is one of the first names you put on that list. And I think if this guy here played for Juventus in that period, or even went abroad and played for a different team, he was linked to United, he was linked to quite a lot of top clubs, he would be getting spoken about in completely different conversations. Again, top level striker. I'm looking at the top 2 tables really for him, and we're going to put him table 2 as well for now. He might bump up because when you talk about 200 plus league goals, but again, this is really 2010 onwards, so we have to consider that. Next, my favourite Juventus player of all time, Paulo Dybala. For me, we're going to put him straight into table 1. Look, he's not an out-and-out striker, but his peak was ridiculous. We're talking one of the best footballers on planet Earth. I don't think Cavani and Di Natale were ever that. Yes, Dybala probably didn't live up to his potential, which was to be the Ballon d'Or winner, to be the best player in the world categorically. But the glimpses he showed, boys, in like 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, even won 19-20 MVP, won 5 league titles in a row, was vital in creating that Juventus team in the late 2010s under Allegri going into Sarri. This guy was a joke, bro. And I know he's not an out-and-out striker like a Cavani and all these guys, but second striker, false 9, played in the 10. He could play in multiple different positions in the attack. And his goal-scoring ability and his goal-scoring record, over 100 goals in Serie A, as not an out-and-out number 9, is ridiculous, bro. I know he spent a long time in the league, but when you talk about on-the-eye aesthetics, he ticks every single box, bro. Super intelligent player, super technically gifted. La Gioia was a joy to watch, quite literally. So, for me, For now, he's table 1, but we'll see. Next up, we got Edin Dzeko, one of the most underrated strikers, I would say, of his generation. This guy was an absolute machine, bro. Obviously, we know what he did for City, helped them win the league. Obviously, we know what he did with Wolfsburg, helped them win the league. Had a crazy duo of Graffita, but we're not going to talk about that. For Roma and Inter, Roma specifically, Dzeko was different, bro. He scored over 100 goals in the Serie A. He was the capocannoniere in 16-17, like over the likes of Higuain, Icardi, other top-level strikers in the league. I remember a goal he scored at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea in the 17-18 Champions League quarter-final, I believe. Volleyed it top bins. This guy was fake, bro. Like, not very quick when he was in the Serie A, but very intelligent. An intelligent striker. Would use his body well, his movement in the box, great in the air. A very good finisher. A versatile finisher as well. So, for me, Dzeko, we're looking at, I wouldn't say top 2 tables, but table 3 or table 4. I think we'll put him table 3 for now. Yeah, I think table 3 is fair. Oh, now we've got a big boy player, arguably the best African player of all time. I'd probably have him second just behind Mo Salah, but that is Samuel Eto'o. The issue with Eto'o is he only spent 2 seasons in Italy. 9-10 and 10-11. He won the treble in 9-10. His goal scoring ability in both were ridiculous. I believe he scored 15 or 16 league goals in his first season and 21, I want to say, in the second season. But he was a joke, bro. He was quite an unorthodox finisher as well. Like, he would score from really tight angles, really obscure angles. Toe punts, I mean, miss hits. But he would find a way to score. That was the thing with Eto'o. Is like his work rate, his determination, his pressing from the front. He was a character in himself. Like, super confident, super vocal almost. Like, if he didn't like something, he would make it clear. If he did like something, he would make it clear. And he was vital into winning the treble. Obviously, back-to-back treble winner, but we're not including his time in Spain. The guy was a joke. The issue with Eto'o is his peak. I mean, he had a very long peak, all from Barcelona to Inter, but he only spent 2 years in the Serie A, a lot less than some of these other guys on the list. So if we were to do, like, the thing is, if this was just strikers in general, Eto'o would be table 1 or table 2, 100%, like, easily. But because he only spent 2 years in the Serie A, I'm more inclined to put him table 3 for now and then adjust. That's the only issue with Samuel Eto'o. But we'll see at the end. Moving on to Olivier Giroud. This guy was good, bro. This guy was good in the Serie A. I'm not on that whole Giroud's underrated sort of train. I think Giroud is a good striker. I don't think he was ever world class. I don't think he was ever elite. Yes, he's France's all-time top scorer for now until Mbappe eventually will surpass him. And I think in Italy, he was quite good. He helped AC Milan win the league in 2022. Was really important in that. Scored in big games, bro. Napoli quarterfinal Champions League against Inter. Si è girato Giroud. Every AC Milan fan will remember that. And he'll always be in their hearts. He's a cult hero, I want to say, for AC Milan. Obviously, AC Milan fans, let me know in the comment section how you view him. But from my perspective, I think he'd be a cult hero, not a great or a legend for AC Milan. But again, bro, Giroud's peak. I mean, when can you really specify? Was it at Arsenal? Was it at Chelsea? Was it at Milan? I think he was just decent / good for most of his career. That's the thing. He's not on par with a lot of these guys. Even like Belotti's peak in the Serie A is much better than Giroud's, I would say. So again, I got to put Giroud table 5, but no disrespect. I think he's a good striker and was super underrated in Italy. But I just can't have him higher than that. Now we got some crazy names in a row, as you can see, but we got to start with Gonzalo Higuain, Il Pipito, one of my favourite strikers ever, bro. When you talk about clutch strikers that I've seen play for my club Juventus, Higuain is number 1. This guy was the bully of the big boys. He would score against Napoli every single time, home or away. Roma, big goals. Inter won us the league in 17-18 with that 3-2 header at the San Siro. Would score against Milan, scored a brace in 17-18 against them. Scored against Tottenham, quarter-final Champions League. Scored against Monaco, both legs. A brace away at home from Monaco, 16-17 to send us to the final. He was incredible. Again, I look at Higuain, it's 16-17, 17-18 for Juventus, 15-16 for Napoli, 14-15 for Napoli, 19-20 when he made his return. He ticks all the boxes. Longevity, prime, 36 goals in 15-16. I don't even think he scored a pen that year, or maybe one. I think Jorginho was the penalty taker. Big goals, big moments. The only thing that lets Higuain down are Messi fanboys. They have tarnished his legacy because on the international stage, Gonzalo Higuain has not lived up to the expectation. For example, the 2014 World Cup. But then again, that's not Higuain's fault. I mean, yeah, it is. Okay, he wasn't great in it. But it was the coach's fault for not bringing Tevez to the World Cup, who should have been the starting striker for Argentina. And I think with Tevez, they probably would have won that World Cup, or would have stood a much better chance at least. But Higuain, for me, when you talk about Serie A strikers in the 2010s, I mean, this guy's table one, and high table one as well. Like, we're talking upper echelons footballer. This guy, super underrated, was really good in Spain for Madrid as well. I believe he had the second best goal to game ratio under Mourinho, behind Cristiano Ronaldo there. You might need to fact check me, but I'm sure I read that somewhere. But Higuain for me, definitely table one. Another one that's definitely table one is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. This guy was one of the most unique footballers I've ever seen. Obviously, he had two spells in the Serie A post 2010. The first one round with Milan where he won the league, and the second one round with Milan where he won the league. It was almost like a full circle moment. And his second spell obviously wasn't as good as his first spell, but he brought passion, he brought unity to that AC Milan team, which was so needed in that moment. They had gone Scudetto-less for a good 9 years, I want to say. It was 9 years coming on to 10 before they won the league. And they just seemed united as a club, as a group of players with Zlatan returning. He came up with big goals and big moments as well. Roma, Napoli, I remember. He was really key in them winning the Scudetto in 2022. Also was playing with a torn ACL. The guy was an animal, but especially in his early days. I mean, when you talk about, as I said, uniqueness for a striker, the guy was a unicorn. I mean, he was a great goal scorer, but he was also a great scorer of goals. His goals were ridiculous. His goal catalogue is probably the best I've ever seen in my life. He was technically gifted, very skillful, great feet, great in the air, acrobatic, physically so strong, so tall, but almost moved like a swan. I mean, it was ridiculous. This guy's one of the best strikers of all time, full stop. And in the Serie A, his peak was in the Serie A. I think when you talk about, I think Inter AC Milan was the best version of Zlatan. Late 2000s, early 2010s. So for me, table one for sure. Another great player is Mauricio Icardi for Inter, super underrated. And I look at Icardi and he kind of reminds me of Kun Aguero. Not in terms of the dribbling side of things, but the goal scoring ability. The ability to create chances for himself inside the box and outside the box. This guy was a threat. He had a lethal strike on him and he carried Inter for so long. He had a good, again, 4 odd seasons at the top level of football where he was one of the best strikers in Europe. And he was dragging Inter to top fours by himself, bro. That Inter team had absolutely no right to finish 4th, 3rd in 2016, 17, 18, that sort of period, late 2010s, where they had Nagatomo, they had João Mario, Gagliardini. I mean, that Inter team, Vecino, that Inter team was so mid. And there was literally only one elite level player in that whole 11. Actually, forget the whole 11. The whole squad, the whole Rosa was Icardi and co. Icardi and the rest. And I, as a Juventus fan, never liked Inter players. But for me, Icardi was like, ooh, I wish we could have him. And I think the downfall of Icardi's career was one Donnarumma. For me, he could have been an all-time Serie A striker. But again, you look at Icardi's time as a bit sour, the way it ended. It shouldn't have ended that way. He should have been leading the lines for with Lautaro. And Lautaro almost took over the mantle of Icardi, who's also on this list. But I think in his absolute prime, Icardi was absolutely unreal. I am going to put him table 3 for now. Moving on, we got Ilicic. Ilicic was, again, quite an unorthodox footballer in the sense that he was very tall, was not big like an Ibra or a Haaland, was quite skinny in his build, but technically so gifted, bro. I mean, he spent a long time in Italy. I think when you talk about his prime, you look at Gasperini and Atalanta, right? 2018, 19, 20. But again, his decline was his ex-partner who cheated on him and he went in a downward spiral, and it was so sad. That was probably one of the saddest declines in football because of the off-the-pitch reasons. And the whole world was supporting Ilicic and hoping that he could come back to that version of himself that was so good. But I remember in this picture here, he scored a hat-trick. I think he scored like 4 goals, maybe even 5 against Valencia in the Champions League in 2020. And they were super unfortunate to get knocked out to PSG. It was only because of Neymar they lost. That Atalanta team was serious, bro. And I think Ilicic was the best player in that team. Maybe Pablo Gomez was the poster boy, but Ilicic was an absolute joke, an absolute joy to watch. A great goal scorer, a wand of a left foot. Excellent footballer. I'm going to put him table 4. Okay, moving on now. We got Ciro Immobile, a guy that just divides opinions. Honestly, with Immobile, you either rate the guy so highly or you don't rate the guy. Now, the problem with Immobile that I have personally is on the eye, this guy is a pain to watch. He is so rigid. He is so stiff. He would never turn up in big games. Like, can you name me 5 Immobile goals? When I think about Immobile, I can only think of the goal he scored in the group stage for Italy in the 2021 Euros. For Lazio, I would never remember a goal. I would just see on my phone he scored 2 every single week. Like, the guy was a great goal scorer. Numerically, in the Serie A, one of the very best, if not the best in the whole decade. He finished capocannoniere on multiple occasions, outscored Ronaldo, matched Higuain's goal record with 36, despite him scoring 15 penalties. But that season, the amount of penalties given was ridiculous. But he would score season upon season at least 20 league goals for Lazio, and Lazio weren't a top-level team challenging for leagues, or even fighting in and around the big boys until Inzaghi came as the coach. But there was something about Immobile, that was like, you're just not world class. You're just not on the same level as a Kane, an Aguero, Lewandowski, Suarez, Benzema, all the other world-class strikers in the late 2010s. Despite him matching their goal tallies or being in and around it, sometimes even beating them. I believe in 2020 he was the European Golden Boot winner. It was just like, yeah, but you're not the best. Or you're just not that. You know, it was so weird with Immobile. It was so strange, but in terms of numbers on paper, of course, you've got to show respect and he's up there. But at the same time, like, he's not better than Eto'o or even Icardi, I don't think. But numerically, yeah, in the Serie A, you would have to say he's higher. So for now, I'm going to put him table 3. Okay, next up we got Luca, and I don't know why this is the picture. He played for Fiorentina in the mid-2000s, but we got to consider from 2010 onwards, as we have with all these other players. He's a weird one because in the start of the early 2010s, the guy was bagging 6 goals, 7 league goals, and out of nowhere, 13-14, 14-15 with Hellas Verona, he just dropped 20 plus goals in back-to-back seasons. It was crazy. Like, bro, he got double goals and assists in 13-14, scored 42 league goals in 2 seasons with Verona. It was crazy. Like, he was a really good striker. Again, an intelligent striker. Box movement was of the highest level. Great player, proper Serie A baller like Di Natale. But again, we're considering the 2010s, 2 seasons, not the 2000s. But great 2 seasons for Verona. Table 4 for now. Lautaro Martinez. With Lautaro, it's hard because the guy has been a Serie A proven bagsman like Immobile for the past 5 years. Like, guarantees you 20 league goals pretty much every single season. But on the big stage, when the whole world is watching, Lautaro disappears. Whether that be for the national team, whether that be for big games with Inter Champions League games. He just never turns up. He's never there. Champions League final, non-existent. Even like big league games, bro. Derby d'Italia the other week, I was there. He was by far and away Inter's worst player on the pitch. But statistically, numerically, he's up there. And he's a really ruthless finisher. Like, again, a bit like Eto'o, like unorthodox. Would score from crazy angles. Loves a toe punt. Like, not the cleanest striker on the eyes, but would always find a way to score. And I think because of that, you got to put him over there. Would I put him over Icardi? Now, the issue is, obviously, Inter fans will be able to sort of judge him a bit better. I think emotionally, of course, they would say, yeah, Lautaro is way better than Icardi. But if they were to take that bias and hatred towards Icardi to the side, I would say that he's not. Both at their best, whatever season you want to put for Lautaro at his best, and Icardi's peak like 16, 17, 17, 18, for me, Icardi was a different level. He was in a much worse Inter team, putting up similar numbers, if not better. Lautaro was fortunate to be in a title, well, multiple title-winning Inter teams, competing year upon year. If you put Icardi, that version of Icardi, in the team that Lautaro was in, he would be getting even more goals than Lautaro, performing even better in my opinion. And Icardi in the Champions League was good for Inter. I don't think prime Lautaro is over prime Icardi, but Lautaro has longevity in the Serie A over Icardi. But big moments, Icardi. So I think that sort of evens out. This is tough. I'm not going to lie. Because I'm looking at the other names on here, I'm thinking, wow, these guys were top. I'm just going to put him in table 3 for now, and then we're going to adjust at the end. Next up, Romelu Lukaku. I promise you, as a Juventus fan, I've feared a few players in my life. Neymar, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo the most by a mile. I mean, he would always score on us. But in the Serie A, I feared Lukaku the most. When Lukaku signed for Inter, and Conte was the manager, I knew this guy was going to be a problem for the league. And 1920 Lukaku, 2020-21 Lukaku, different level. Of course, now he's still getting double-double with Napoli, was decent at Roma, decent when he returned to Inter. But I'm looking at those 2 years as his peak. But he obviously has a bit more longevity than 2 years in the Serie A. That is a bit disrespectful. But prime for prime, 2020-21 Lukaku was one of the best strikers in the world. And there's a reason Chelsea paid 100-odd million to bring him back to the bridge. And he would have been a success in England if he just didn't do that interview with Sky Sport Italia saying how he tried to... The problem is he tried to make amends with the Inter fans whilst burning bridges with his current fans in Chelsea. It was the stupidest interview I think I've ever seen from a footballer. And that season, if he was just there, I think Chelsea could have won the league with Tuchel. But this is obviously Serie A. I was going on a bit of a rant there because it was so frustrating to watch. This guy was a beast, bro. Like, physically so strong, rapid, like so fast for his build. People underestimate how quick Lukaku actually was. Powerful strikes, good in the box, good outside the box, good hold-up play. In a 3-5-2 counter-attacking football, the guy was one of the best in the world. And there's a reason why Chelsea paid all that money, as I said. I gotta say, like, for me, that version of Lukaku, 2020-21 Lukaku, is better than all these guys in Table 3, apart from Eto'o probably, in his prime in Italy. I would also make the case you could make the comparison between a prime Eto'o for Inter and a prime Lukaku for Inter. But Eto'o as well would play out wide off the wing at Inter as well. I'm very tempted to bump Eto'o up actually. I'm going to bump Eto'o up for now. As I'm just speaking out loud. But I was probably going to do that at the end, but I'll do it now. But Lukaku was, he was different. For now, Table 3, but we'll see at the end. But yeah, I loved Lukaku. Like, even as Juventus fan, I have to say, I wish we bought Lukaku back then. Moving on to Dries Mertens now. Super underrated footballer. Napoli's all-time top scorer. One of the best Napoli footballers ever. Most probably have him on their Mount Rushmore, and that's fair enough. Napoli fans, let me know in the comment section, how highly do you rate Mertens? Where do you rank him in terms of all-time Napoli greats? Again, I really feel for him that he never got to win the Scudetto, wasn't part of that title-winning team. He definitely deserved that. He was great, man. He was an honest footballer. He was versatile, as I said, similar to Dybala, not a pure number 9, second striker, number 10, could play off the wide. I mean, this guy would score in big games as well for Napoli, won them a few Coppa Italias, just a great player. As a Juventus fan, I always had to admit, like, Mertens was one of their best, but I always thought Mertens was better than Insigne. For me, it was always Mertens was number 1, post Higuain, sorry. I really liked Mertens, and for what he achieved in the Serie A, how long he spent in the Serie A, I'm looking at a Table 2 kind of player. Maybe his prime isn't the same as a Lukaku prime, I would say, or an Icardi prime. Okay, now we got Milito. Milito is a great player. Again, I mean, late 2000s at Genoa, but again, we have to consider, I said 2010 onwards, so that's quite harsh to ignore that, but we have to. 08, 09. We're looking at really 09, 10, Diego Milito, where he was incredible. Like, honestly, the fact that he wasn't even nominated for the Ballon d'Or that season as well was a robbery. He didn't even place top 30 Ballon d'Or in 2010, or one of the biggest scandals in Ballon d'Or history. The guy scored the key goal in winning into the league that year. He scored the winner in the Coppa Italia final, and he scored a brace in the Champions League final to complete the treble. Milito's goal-scoring abilities that season was a joke. And again, a ruthless finisher in front of goal. Inter have been so blessed with the amount of elite-level strikers, and the majority of these strikers are all Inter. But again, he doesn't have the consistency as a lot of these other strikers. Even Lautaro was at the top level of Serie A football for longer than Milito. I'm doing 2010 onwards. We're really looking at 1-2 seasons like Eto'o, but I just think the 10-11 season Milito dropped off massively, unlike Eto'o, whose numbers were even better for Inter. For now, Table 3. Alvaro Morata. I mean, I feel for Morata. I think Morata is super disrespected. He was a good striker for Juventus. Obviously, he had 2 spells, 14-15 and 15-16, then came back in 2020, where I actually think his best football was played that season in the 2020-21 season. He had the most goals. He was super important in that team under Pirlo. And but the issue with Morata is when the big games come around, you can't really rely on him. But saying that, 14-15 Morata, where he was very young, was super clutch in this kit. Exactly in this kit at the Bernabeu. He scored the winner to send us to the final. He scored in the first leg. He scored in the final against Barcelona. 15-16, he still had his moments, scored in the Coppa Italia final. But since then, his ruthlessness, his clutchness, it really fell off a cliff. But he was really good. I think, for example, Morata in the 2010s was better than Giroud and Belotti. Despite, I don't think his goal tally was as high as Belotti in 16-17, but I think he was better. I'm going to put him Table 4 for now. I don't know if that's a bit higher. Maybe people will be a bit annoyed, but we're gonna work around this. Next up, Osimhen. Wow, what a player Victor Osimhen is and was. It's such a shame he's playing in Turkey now, Galatasaray. because he is still one of the best strikers in the world. I just think he's getting wasted away a bit in the Turkish league, no disrespect. But 22-23 Aussie men, one of the best peaks for any striker I think I've seen in the league. And I would take that version of Aussie men over a prime Lukaku, over a prime. A lot of these players, apart from maybe Ibrahimovic and Dybala, in that regard, you could put him table 1. For that one season in the Serie A, he was different. I believe he won best attacker because Kvaratskhelia won MVP that season. I do agree Kvaratskhelia was the best player in that team. But he was, again, ruthless finisher, bro. Would score from ridiculous angles, would chase so many loose balls, initiate the presses for Napoli, worked so hard. His runs in behind were an absolute nightmare for any defense. He was a problem, man. A bit like Eto'o, like super hard working, top mentality, turned up in big league games that season for Napoli. And then obviously 23-24, he wasn't the same level, had some injuries, then the whole issue came out around the team. The relationship just broke down between him and the club. But Osimhen was someone I wanted so badly at Juventus this summer, man. I think he's one of the best strikers in the world, and he was elite at Napoli. For now, table 2. Then we got Quagliarella. Look, Quagliarella for me, he's a really underrated striker. Again, in his later stage of his career where I thought he was the best at, he wasn't the quickest, but he was super intelligent in terms of his positional awareness, his movement in the box, his finishing capabilities. And you look at his prime really as the 18-19 season where he outscored Cristiano Ronaldo for Sampdoria. And I remember a goal he scored that year, like a gol di tacco. It was like a flick goal against Napoli. He was absolutely outrageous, man. A cult hero in Italy. Played for my team Juventus, played for Napoli. Was a bit of a journeyman in Italy, but I think he was absolutely quality. Super underrated. I'm going straight in table 4. Next, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, for me, number 1, like table 1, number 1. I don't care what anyone says. 3 seasons in the league, 100 plus goals from 33 to 36. First season as a left winger, adopted his game as a striker, became the top scorer in the Serie A in his last season. I think he broke or matched the record for most consecutive games in the Serie A scoring at 34, 35. The guy raised his level when times were rough, would score in big games, scored against every team. Ronaldo's Ronaldo. He's the best player to have ever stepped foot in the league, not time spent in the league. But he was a joy to watch. I just wish he spent, if he just came a season or 2 earlier at Juventus' whole trajectory as a club would be completely different. But he's the best player I've ever seen wear black and white. He's one of my favourite players of all time. As you can see, got a signed Ronaldo shirt in the back. I absolutely adore Ronaldo. I can't say a bad word about Cristiano at Juventus. So there's no point really talking about Ronaldo. We all know how great he is. And if you disagree, I think you should click off this video and watch a badminton video. Next up, we got Carlitos Tevez. And Tevez, for me, is identical to Eto'o in this regard. He only spent 2 years in Italy, but 2 top-level years, where he was one of the best strikers in the world. 13-14 and 14-15, Tevez was a beast, bro. Similar to Aguero with his feet and his dribbling abilities and his low centre of gravity, his physicality, where he was a bull, bro. He was a pit bull. He would chase down loose balls. He would work so hard, initiate presses. He was a versatile finisher, whether that be in the box, outside the box. He was scoring big games against Real Madrid Champions League semi-final. Dortmund scored a screamer. He was like a top-level striker, one of the best strikers I've ever seen. And the thing is, him or Higuain is a bit of a debate for Juventus fans. I think categorically Tevez was the better footballer. But I think Higuain had more clutch moments at Juventus. But then if you're going all Serie A, I got to go Higuain because he spent a lot longer in the league. And he was also top level at Napoli. But for me, Tevez, only 2 years. But my goodness, I got to put those years, table 1 or table 2, we have to. So for now, table 2, and we're going to have to discuss this at the end. We got Marcus Thuram now, who, look, I think he's a very good striker. I think he's one of the best strikers in Europe. But again, just recently joined the league, has won a league title, of course. Super underrated, great in the air, physically really strong. Great partnership with Lautaro. But I'm going to put him table 5 for now. Dusan Vlahovic. I think Vlahovic is great. I think he's super underappreciated, I think, by a lot of football fans in general. He was great at Fiorentina. His goal scoring record at Juventus isn't even bad. People say it's awful, act like it's awful, but it's really not. He pretty much averages a goal every other game, I believe. Won Juventus Coppa Italia. Was in a weak era of Juventus. But, bro, like, in terms of strikers I've seen at the club, he's up there for sure. He's definitely better than quite a lot of them. Obviously not same level as Tevez, Higuain or Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, but he's still a very good striker. Problem with Vlahovic is very high highs but very low lows, bro. He's very up and down. He's a yo-yo kind of footballer based off form, based off mood. All of these things play into Vlahovic. So it's really like hit and miss. He's just not consistent enough. Now, though, this season, having said that, he's finding a way to score. I think him as that impact sub has sort of changed his role in this Juventus team, and it's benefiting him, it's benefiting the club. We're winning games. Vlahovic, table 4 for now. And Duvan Zapata, very good striker, physically really imposing, great in the air, was very good for Atalanta under Gasperini, but he is going table 5. And this is the ranking so far, but we have too many players in different categories. So, table 1, Ronaldo, Dybala, Higuain, and Ibra. I think in terms of complete longevity, Di Natale, but again, we have to remember this is 2010 onwards. So I'm really going off peak now. I think to separate these guys, we have to look at their pinnacle. I think that's super important. Cavani, Tevez, Eto'o. I'm looking at Osimhen too. This is super tough because all those guys were incredible, absolutely incredible. I love Tevez, I really do. I loved Cavani as well, but for me, Eto'o was different. Eto'o as a striker had something that those guys maybe didn't have at the same level. But he doesn't have. Eto'o had 2 seasons, but I'll go Eto'o for now. I just think those 2 seasons, what he offered to Inter, winning the treble as well, it's too much, you know. We got to drop 1 down to table 5. I'm gonna move Morata. It's harsh, I think, but he has to go down. 1 down to table 4. Oh my god, how do I have to put one of these guys in table 4? That is not fair at all. But it has to be Dzeko realistically. Out of all those guys, if I'm being honest, I'd rather watch Dzeko than Immobile, but Immobile's goal scoring abilities in the Serie A is just too high. Do I want to change a table 3 and put him in a table 2? Just think Di Natale, what he achieved back-to-back Capocannonières at Udinese, bringing them to European football. If he had played for any of these other clubs, like, let's be real, Udinese out of all of these clubs, and out of the table 1 to table 3 clubs, is the lowest one. If he played for Inter in that period, Milan, he would have been part of an Inter treble winning team. He would have been part of a Milan Scudetto team, Juventus Scudetto team. For me, Di Natale deserves a lot of respect. He has to be top 2 tables for Serie A strikers, 100%. It's hard because these 5 are top. Like, they're good, bro. They're very good. I don't know, man. Icardi was good, man. Icardi was good. Now I'm going to do the ordering. I think Ibra second for sure. It's tough. Osimhen, Mertens. No, Osimhen over Mertens. I'm going to swap Cavani and Tevez. I'm going to go Icardi. High level. I'll be real, Icardi could be bumped up, boys. I think that. But I'm just looking at. I'm happy with table 1. I am happy with table 1. I'm just looking at table 2 and 3, and there's players that could interchange easily. Oh, Icardi. I'm just looking at Icardi here. I'm thinking, yeah, he could be table 2. But Mertens is his longevity. Nah, you know what? I'm sorry. This is so tough. I'm sorry, Mertens. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just have to put Icardi top. I have to. What he was doing, the goal, like Capocannoniere in that Inter team, was too good. It was too good. But I feel bad putting Mertens table 3. But look, I'm gonna go crazy if I try and nitpick too much. I mean, the ordering is like, it doesn't really matter too much. I just did it for the sake of doing it. But I think these are the tables I'm gonna go for. Let me know in the comment section, what would you change, boys? Have I missed out on anyone? Should I have put someone up or down? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, share it to some friends, and I will see you in the next video.